The Luke Branquinho Show is brought to you by Lane Frost. Lane Frost, your legend starts now. 5% of the profits from Payment Cowboys goes to a cowboy charity. And when you tell people in the Western industry that, this right here, this little tool, and I don't use it near as much as I should because one, I'm pretty old and don't understand technology all that well.
Well, to your point, and I think this is the thing that everybody listening to this show should pay close attention to.
Rodeo time. Welcome to the Luke Branquinho Show. Today's guest is a gentleman that I had met several months ago, and I am so fortunate to have done so, thanks to Casey Field, a good friend of mine. Jed Morley, thank you for joining us.
Thanks, Luke. It's a pleasure to be here. I'm excited to be on your show today.
Well, and this is actually the second time we had you on the show in Vegas, and we got to talk, a little bit about the Western culture and things like that. But the main thing I wanted to talk about today is a business you started more than 20 years ago called PlatPlay, credit card merchant services, high risk, and this is how I actually got introduced to you through this business deal with Casey. And I have learned so much of what you guys do and how successful you guys have been doing it.
Well, thanks. The thing that's kind of cool about this whole thing is I've watched you guys' careers for years, and to see you guys be the very best at what you do, the effort, the focus to detail, the attention to detail is really impressive. And in our business, it's kind of the same. And I think everybody that's successful in business has to have that same mentality of how do I create something with systems, with KPIs, the little details that matter. And really, when you get into certain industries, especially around risk or factoring and lending and that kind of thing, a lot of it boils down to what are the little simple things that you do repetitively that you master and become really good at. And that's really kind of been the focus with me. I would come into the office over and over and say, why do we do it that way? How can we improve? And in payments, they're always changing. So it's been a really fun thing to build this company, PlatPlay.
For me, I really lean on, PlatPlay's been in it for 20 plus years. They got some heavy hitting clients, and this is an opportunity for, and I say sell. I think of it more as a partnership, honestly. I want your business to succeed, and that'll help our industry succeed, which brings up Payment Cowboys. What you guys have done in the vertical for the Western industry is huge. And I know you got some heavy hitters on that side, but I feel like just with my involvement, we're bringing in a lot of guys from the Western industry that maybe didn't quite understand the payment processing side of things. And like, hey, we're getting kind of charged over here for unnecessary reasons. Hey, American Hat, that's one of the first businesses I brought to it. And it's huge to see the savings we're giving them and then also giving back to cowboy charities.
Absolutely. And let me just step one step back, because I think what you had brought on was what kind of got me started in this. In my backstory, I actually have been a real estate broker and developer, and I used to develop a lot of the Napa auto parts around the country. I'd fly out, buy the buildings, lease them on 20-year terms. I've been a real estate developer, and we've done it in multiple states and stuff. The hardest part for me on that was it wasn't really scalable, and I couldn't control the risk in a lot of those deals, right? Banks could change terms, and there's a lot of things that during 2000s and early 2000s, you saw a lot of changes. In the payment space, I felt like it was something we could control that risk and that understand that factoring a little better. And so to your point, when you come into American Hats and you look at the true costs people are paying, there's a lot of truncated costs and a lot of things that are not clear. And so we come in and say, let us show you really what you're paying, and let us show you where you can save money. And a lot of it's just understanding the type of merchant, the type of card, the type of transactions that they're doing. And like you say, it's a partnership where we educate them on things that they could do that would help their business be more profitable, save more money, and it's a real win-win for all of us. The Payment Cowboys brand has been so much fun to work in, as obviously, on your show and, my family and the vision that I have. What we love to do is be at the rodeos, be at the Western community, give back to the community. I've watched how it's changed lives over and over, and I really feel like it's one of the last great parts of America. You've got the God, faith, family, hard work, the grit. And I just love that culture. And so for us, we want to be a part of that and give back. And, when Casey and I got together a couple of years ago, I was at a rodeo and I sit on a committee, for the Fiesta Days in Spanish Fork. And it was really fun. And Casey's from there. So we're sitting there behind the chutes one night talking. And I just said, "How are you going to do this when you're done?" And he's like, "I don't know. I'm not sure." And I said, "Let me help you guys strategize on building something that'll pay you guys long after retirement." And I know that's something everybody has to deal with, especially your careers only last so long. And then what do you do? And so putting this thing together has been an absolute blast.
Well, and Casey says it best. He says, once rodeo's over, you lose a lot of those legacy sponsors, all those. And fortunately for me, being involved in TV and the show, I've still been able to keep a lot of my great sponsors that, through injury, through retirement, through everything, they stuck with me. But a lot of those other guys, they don't have anything like that. And as well as anybody, rodeo is not one of those sports where it's getting better. Don't get me wrong. Where you just go win something, you go invest it somewhere. It's you pay to play. It's entry fees, fuel, food, insurance. There's nothing that you do not pay for as a rodeo athlete. So guys, to have an opportunity like this, to have some residual income after they're done is huge. And even for me to be a part of it is great. And I talk about relationships, bringing people that have helped me throughout my career. Now I want to be able to turn around and give back to them and say, "Listen, Payment Cowboys process, we will help you save money. We will help you simplify your solutions and make it easier. And we're giving back again to the community that's given back to me so much."
Well, to your point, and I think this is the thing that everybody listening to this show should pay close attention to. You are an example of being an entrepreneur and running a business while you're building it. You are the brand, right? And I think so few understand, hey, I'm running off to the rodeo. I'm a cowboy. That's awesome. And it is great. But just realize that only goes so far. The bigger thing is what am I going to do after? So as you form that relationship with these brands, you have brought value back to them. All I hear over and over from the brands are, "Hey, I put a patch, I give them money, and I never hear from them again." They're on the road doing something, but I can't measure, I can't track that by sponsoring them and working with them, they've actually made any significant change in our business. And so that's one of the things that Western athletes and Payment Cowboys really is going to change, is help the Cowboys become more brandable and more of a business. And I think that's one of the things that we'll get to, talking about. But I just think of you as kind of the top of that because there's very few people that have understood how to do that while rodeoing.
Yeah, well, we're going to go to break now, Jed, but when we come back, we're going to have more. I want to get into, like you said, Western athletes, E-pipe, more avenues for athletes to see the success that they could have after rodeo.
Luke, I think the key for all of us is how do we tell our story? Because everything in business is stories.
And that's what I think is cool about technology and what you guys are doing with these cards right here, Jed.
Yeah, and the card is super cool. But, the best part about this, Luke, is this for the brands.
The Luke Branquinho Show is brought to you by Lane Frost. His memory is alive today in all the young bull riders that strive to be like him, and his fans who carry his champion spirit. Lane Frost is one of the most beloved American cowboys in history. The Lane Frost brand is completely family-owned and operated. Every single product is designed and shipped from their hometown in Atoka, Oklahoma. The Lane Frost Company invites you to honor a champion and celebrate the legend in you. Go to lanefrost.com to learn more.
Welcome back to the Luke Branquinho Show. I'm here with Jed Morley, CEO of PlatPlay, Payment Processing, Merchant Services, and also the vertical that I'm part of, Payment Cowboys. And Jed, thanks again for joining us. Great conversation in the first part of the show. But you mentioned something right there at the end. We talked about Western athletes and how this could help really expand and broaden everything for a Western athlete.
Yeah, absolutely. Luke, I think the key for all of us is how do we tell our story? Because everything in business is stories. So Western athletes is really taken that ability as a cowboy or cowgirl and telling my story a little bit better. So we've built this really cool tool that we've built where we can tell the story a little better with stats, analytics, and tracking, some of those kind of things. But the Western athletes, it's really the entire thing is the ability for us to help cowboys get residual income from multiple channels. And the first one is Payment Cowboys, right? The first one is how do we bring it into through the payments? But we've got dozens of others that are jumping on board, and that's what's going to be really exciting for every single one of these Western athletes to be able to represent multiple brands and be able to make income off of all of this.
Well, and you brought it to me there in Vegas, the Western athletes, and then also this, the Western athletes card, which is pretty cool. This card, you said, and you could put any picture you want on it if you wanted to customize it, but on the back is the QR code. You could actually zoom in and scan it right now, and it'll give you info on myself and how to contact me if we want to do clinics. If you want to see videos or anything, come join us at Payment Cowboys. I'll get you guys set up. But this right here, this little tool, and I don't use it near as much as I should, because one, I'm pretty old and don't understand technology all that well. But it's as simple as tapping. It's a tap. I could tap my phone to it, and it pops up right there, and all you do is click on it, and you get my contact information, and you have pretty much everything that is Luke Branquinho. And that's what I think is cool about technology and what you guys are doing with these cards right here, Jed.
So think about this as a rodeo athlete. If I said, "Hey, you're coming to Spanish Fork," and I use that because that's my community, right?
Right.
But there's a cow ranch, and you say, "Okay, cow ranch. If I have X amount of cowboys come in and they'll sign autographs and do this, and we'll do a social post, and they'll pay your entry fees. You're for the first time, they're winning, you're winning, and I've got the stats and analytics to prove which ones are giving the most back to the retailers and the shops and the stores."
Absolutely.
And that's really been the focus is we want to sit in the middle and help cowboys make more money, be better, better exposed to opportunities, and help build their brand and give them more opportunities.
Well, and I think like you said, build their brand, but you also look at the sponsors that have all these athletes on board. You give an athlete this card or sign the sponsors up with that. Now the sponsors can track, okay, they're tapping this card, people are coming to our site, they're buying this product because of this athlete, and it shows the sponsors the actual value of those athletes.
If you want me to, I could literally look in your account, see exactly how many times per week somebody scanned the card, looked at the card, what you're doing. I can change that real time, anytime. And so for the big brands that we're already working with, we can put all the athletes on there, and we can change what the offer is, where it's being presented, at what location. The tracking and capabilities are the best I've ever seen. And really for the brand, that's what matters the most, because right now the economy's with inflation and the way the economy's going, they're all looking at like, okay, I want to help this, but how can I help grow my own company that's sponsoring you guys, And that's been the focus. So we have the tools, and that's really been our focus, is to hone in on the cowboys, teach them how to be better at branding themselves, helping elevate the whole entire rodeo industry. We talked about this down in Vegas. I think one of the things that was always interesting is, golf 30 years ago and rodeo 30 years ago, you looked at it and said, boy, they put a lot of money into the Cowboys and really elevated the brand of golf when they built it around the athletes.
Right.
Rodeo hasn't done that as good, and we need to help elevate that. And that's really been our focus, is let's put more money back to the Cowboys, to the branding of the athletes, and we'll help raise the entire industry.
Yeah, and we brought on Cinch. Cinch is one of the partners with Western Athletes now, and they're on the E-Pipe. And talking to them, they're really excited with how things are going with that. And they should be, because what they're getting out of it is huge, and what they're going to get out of it in the future is even bigger.
Yeah, and to their point, meeting with Cinch, the hardest part for them is, you got 100+ athletes that are signed. To try to manage that as a company is really hard without the right tools. So we've outsourced it. We do everything for them, from the photos, the pictures, the events, the management, the tools. So I would highly recommend, so that you guys understand what we're talking about, scan the QR code that we're going to have on the screen so you can actually see Luke's card. And then the beautiful thing with that is you can see everything Luke is doing, and it can be updated real time. And that'll be the same with every one of these athletes that are on Cinch. So we'll be able to manage that for them, maintain it, and give Cinch a lot more visibility in what athletes are being more successful for their brand. And here's just normal business, right? The person, the cowboy, the cowgirl that takes it serious and puts more money and time into their brand to drive revenue back to the businesses, they're way more valuable to the, to the company than the one that just says, hey, I'm wearing a badge or I'm wearing something, I'm not doing it. So we want to teach business 101 to really focus in on building the brand and driving revenue back to the companies.
I appreciate all that, but we're going to go to break. And when we come back, I want to talk more with Jed on Western athletes, Payment Cowboys, and just how we could help you guys out.
Casey Field, 6-time world champion, bareback rider. People know him that are in the industry, but outside of the industry, people don't really know who he is.
Welcome back to the Luke Branquinho Show. Jed Morley is joining us here, CEO of PlatPlay, Payment Cowboys. We've talked Western athletes. Jed, you said it in the last segment. It's the one-stop shop. You want payment processing. We're the best at it. You want building brand for your athletes and your business with Western athletes. We're the best at it. To me, again, why I joined forces with you guys, because I love everything you guys are wanting to do for the industry.
Well, thanks. And I look again, I'm cherry picking right now, you and some of the top guys out there because we want to help you guys. You're already there. But let me give you a quick example of one of the things that I feel like has really been unique. So Casey Field, 6-time world champion, bareback rider. People know him that are in the industry, but outside of the industry, people don't really know who he is. So how then do you take a person that has some legacy, some influence, but then you help build it across platforms? So we have these brands and marketing, and this magazine like Wealth Defined, we have it with Valiant CEO. Pretty interesting when you can get Donald Trump's information and have an exclusive right for a couple of years. But then we put all of the brands. You look at this is a big brand, the 4M Equine Ranch, and all the branding and marketing. So now the opportunity for us to help build the brands for the Cowboys, get them in more places to talk, elevate where they're at, go into the companies and say, let me help you drive more revenue, more opportunities.
Well, and speaking of making a difference, 5% of Payment Cowboys profit. Now, this is something that is a very big, a selling point, I like to say, but partnership point is 5% of the profits from Payment Cowboys goes to a cowboy charity. And when you tell people in the Western industry that, they're like, wait a second, you guys are giving back to charities? That's huge.
I can say, we met with Sonny James Christian Ministries and Equine Ministries, and these guys have literally got some of the coolest kids there in Texas. They're growing their brand and really helping the industry. Watching how many kids' lives have been changed, and we're doing scholarship programs and everything, and to watch on every single month that consistent money growing and growing. Well, this last one was almost $20,000. And you look at this and go, how exciting is that for them to go? Now they have stable income. They can grow their business. And when I say business, you have to look at a nonprofit as a business, because really they have the same kind of expenses as all of us, but they're doing this for the love of the sport.
Yeah.
and the things that matter the most. And so we have multiple, groups that we're sponsoring in cowboy charities. So you can check that brand out, and it'll also be on the link below. But again, to your point, cowboy charities, what drives all of us is to make a difference and give back.
Yeah. All right, we're going to go to break, and when we come back, we're going to wrap up the Luke Branquinho Show with Jed Morley.
Awesome. Thanks, man. The failures that you have, it was the greatest experience of our lives.
Welcome back to the Luke Branquinho Show. We're here to wrap up it with Jed Morley. Jed, we've had such a great conversation. I hope you folks that have listened or watched will go to the link, check it out, Payment Cowboys. Hit it, check it out, send me a message if you're interested, and we'll get you swapped over. But before we go, Jed, we got some rapid fire questions. Most inspiring entrepreneur?
For me, Larry H. Miller. A lot of people don't know him. He was the owner of the Utah Jazz. He's written a book called Driven. Highly recommend it. Absolutely brilliant man, and what a great philanthropist.
Biggest mistake you've made in business that you learned the most from?
When I was late 20s, I started a .com, and it cost me $500,000 of personal money. It was my PhD. It was the hardest thing I went through. We ended up selling a house and all kinds of things. But I learned then and there, no matter the failures that you have, it was the greatest experience of our lives for my wife and I to look back to see what we had to go through to get where we are. Would never make some of the same mistakes, but the cost and the price was the most valuable thing I ever went through.
Yeah, Jed, I can't thank you enough for joining us. Everybody go out, hit the link, scan the code, see what Payment Cowboys is all about, and I promise you, we will not disappoint you. Jed, thanks again for joining us.
One final thing, thank you. I appreciate it so much, Luke. It's great. And what I always tell everyone is we are the brand that's coming and doing and having fun. Come ride with us. Literally, that's an open invitation. We're having so many fun rides and hunts and other things. So we really do want, whether you're a client or not, lots of opportunities to come out and see what we're doing.
I appreciate it, Jed. Thank you. And thank you all for watching. We'll catch you on the next one.
Thanks.